Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research 2 channel here on YouTube. I'm your host, Bugcat7, and in today's video I want to talk about Gobekli Tepe and how it was actually buried and not what is being claimed. Now, of course, like everything in the world of science, as more data is collected, they frequently revise their hypothesis, and questions come up that can't be explained directly by the original hypothesis, so they start having to, conjecture about, what actually occurred. And there's been changes to that theory. And I would think that most people think, based upon the original story about Gobekli Tepe, okay, it's 12,000 years old, we understood that, and that it was buried somehow, whatever. So the original archaeologist, researcher, this Klaus Schmidt, I believe his name is, said that it was buried by people and everything. And by the way, here's a picture of one of the circles there with the T columns and the stonework around it, etc., etc. Sylvie from New Earth was one of the first people to point out that this sort of rubble stone wall, which, by the way, is more geometric and more carefully built than the stone walls of New England, and from 12,000 years ago, supposedly, or whatever, but it's more geometric, etc., etc. But the stone walls of New England weren't built to be walls per se, just sort of markers, sort of just area markers. But in any case, so Sylvie was the first one that I know to point out that the sort of rubble stone walls that are built around in these circles go right up against these T columns where these reliefs were. So if you're going to cover up the reliefs, why bother carving them into the T columns to begin with? So anyway, there was some questions about that. She showed any number of pictures where the rubble walls there covered up the T columns there where the reliefs were, and it didn't make any sense. Of course it doesn't make any sense. You want to see those reliefs, right? So, why would you cover it up with walls? So it sort of showed occupation at a later date, which seems to be a repeating theme in archaeology again and again and again, even going back to even far more ancient times. But we don't know exactly when a later habitation occurred. But if you read the Wikipedia article on it, they put these sort of revisions in there. If you read into it, I'm not going to read it for you, but you can if you want. They talk about it, and this Barbie guy, Klaus Schmidt, I'm saying Klaus Barbie, the guy who was like the Nazi guy, concentration camp guard or something like that. But this Klaus Schmidt guy, said it originally, his theory about it was that it was buried by humans, and, the people there buried it and whatnot. So now they're saying that it seems to be more about landslides there, they say, because of the material, etc., around it, and then people come in and clear it out as these landslides happen, and again and again and again. So it was covered by landslides. So landslides seem to keep recurring for some reason or rather, okay, that they can't explain exactly. So you can read that in there. That and that was really the two main points were that, and they had to admit also that there was some later habitation there because of the stone rubble walls built up against the T column. So, they finally acknowledged that, but Sylvie was the first one to point it out, I believe, before they, where they were still going on about how it was all built 12,000 years ago. So whenever it was buried, seems to happen at some later time, not 12,000 years ago, whenever it was inhabited by some later people, apparently, because the stonework doesn't match. You have finely cut stone, these T columns with carvings, and then you have this rubble walls around it with, sort of very rough hewn stone. So in any case, and up against the columns covering the reliefs. So they had more or less admit to all of these things in this current article here in Wikipedia, the baloney online encyclopedia. So they're revising it because they can't figure it out. So that original assessment by the Klaus Schmidt guy, you can forget all about that. That's pretty much what people know about. They haven't seen these revisions or heard about them or anything. They just hear about the new locations, the other tepes that they found there that are just as interesting as this one and everything else. But, okay, the reason why I'm talking about all of this stuff is because recently I came across this video on a friend to the channel here, Dave at Electric Universe Eyes, and he was covering the Thunderbolts picture today. If you don't know about Thunderbolts, it covers, Emanuel Velikovsky's work, to some degree, and then all the science wrapped around it, and with the people later on here, more or less taking up his footsteps. So, I just a basic synopsis that I could give about it. Emanuel Velikovsky writing about worlds in collision, about planets coming close to each other and these electrical discharges, and the Thunderbolts Project centering around electric universe and Wall Thornhill, etc., etc. So if you don't know anything about it, maybe you want to check it out. But this is the kind of stuff that I follow here. So anyway, Dave came up with this picture of the day from Thunderbolts. He wanted to give an evaluation of it and read some of the material from Mel Atkinson's there, one of the researchers there. And they have this picture of this Lichtenberg figure on the surface of the Earth here, and in Namibia, and just saying, it looks like a dragon, and the way that it was formed and how it was formed, etc., by electrical discharge geology. And people like Andrew Hall covered this sort of thing on the Thunderbolts channel. Here's some Andy Hall's videos here from the Thunderbolts Project. On this one it says, you can see in this video, this little one here, it says wind-blown deposits indicate stronger winds came from the north. Stronger winds layered more front this side. So it's about this layering that occurs during electrical discharge, and how it was layered there at Gobekli Tepe with these soils that apparently originally determined to come from 40 miles away, but now they're saying it's local and landslides, because the whole sort of assessment of them burying it, they can't make that come together there. They have no evidence for that. It seems a monumental task. The bigger the area grows, it grows and grows and grows to, the type of manpower needed to cover the kind of work there just did not go in line with the hunter-gatherer community, etc., of stonemasons and whatnot, which, again, this whole hunter-gatherer thing, you got to get rid of it. It's nonsense. It's all the people from the Stone Age, they think, they weren't building these places in the first place. Now they are. And they didn't have actors, and they even talk about the conjecture about that on the Wikipedia page there. They don't know where they were. Listen, folks, agriculture is like a no-brainer. You eat some fruits and you spit out the seeds on the ground. A couple of weeks later, you come back and they're growing. Okay, it's the easiest thing to figure out in the world, and they figured out fish farming thousands and millennia ago. 7 and 8 and 9,000 years ago, they were fish farming and managing. In the Americas, all of the Americas were being managed. All the forests and the waterways and everywhere was being managed by peoples here. And in the millions, as Charles C. Mann covers in his book, and the anthropologists and archaeologists who do their work, and historians. But in any case, you can see Andrew Hall's video on Thunderbolts Project and how this electrical scarring takes place, the type of layering that happens when these electrical discharges occur, hypersonic winds, etc., etc. So there's some other titles from some of the electrically scarred Mars, the Thunderbolt and electrically scarred Mars, because they say Mars came close to the planet Earth. So the two planets came close to each other. There was electrical starring occurred, and that's why you find Mars Marianas, the canyon there, and it's similar looking features. And here it is right here, and here's the Grand Canyon right here. Okay, these giant Lichtenberg scarring that took place, the dragons, as we're talking about on the picture of the day on Dave's channel. So, in any case, I watched this video of Dave's here. You can watch it too. I'll put all the links to all these things. I'm going to try anyway, like a good YouTuber here, to put them in the description here so you can look at them yourself. But he covered this video here, and it just brought to mind my video on my old channel here about Gobekli Tepe being quote-unquote buried, question mark, mainstream fantasy. They don't have anything, because I knew even back then, 3 years ago or before that, that there was this lake that was 40 miles north of Gobekli Tepe. And it looked like a Lichtenberg figure to me. It looked like some of this interplanetary electrical scarring to me. And that's what immediately came to my mind, because I followed the Thunderbolts Project. So in any case, when Dave presented this video, I said, hey Dave, take a look at this. So here's some of my comment here. I'll read it to you. Always love Thunderbolts, Dave, and these Lichtenberg figures figure into the overall picture of the past. I've talked about this in at least one other video on my other channel, and I noticed something that I don't think anybody has caught of as of yet, and that is that geologists say that the material that buried Gobekli Tepe, this is originally what they said, now they say it's landslides. You know, they're trying to figure it out, but they can't, to see, because they don't believe in interplanetary electrical scarring. The material that buried Gobekli Tepe came from 40 miles away based on its composition. Well, there is a rather large lake about 40 miles away, and if you look at the satellite views of it, you can see it is outlined here and there with Lichtenberg formations. I think the material that covered Gobekli Tepe was blasted out of the lake by interplanetary electrical discharge, and this is in fact the how and why, quote unquote, it was buried. I'd swear on it, but if I would ask anyone I know to confirm this possibility for me, take a good look at it yourself, Dave, and tell me what you think. Seriously, let me know, because I think I'm the only one who noticed this, and I do think I'm the only one who noticed this. And so in any case, so Dave says here, I can get with that. Look at the community post in just a moment. So anyway, Dave posted this to his community post over here on his channel here, and I just want to take you down to that, and we'll take a look at it for a second here. Here's all the other things that Dave posts in his community page. And Dave does actual experiments and stuff with electricity and electrical scarring, etc., etc. So it's a very interesting page he has here. I like his synopsis of the whole electric universe theory, etc. Okay, so here he took it and he posted my comment here on his community page. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So he shows Gobekli Tepe here on a satellite. Get in a little closer here. Wherever it is. See that? Where is this? Oh no. Where is that now? Holy cow. Hold on a second. Let me refresh it. Let's see if I can get it here. Alright. Because there's other pictures there that don't seem to be coming up. Like the picture of the lake itself. Okay, so let's see. We got that. There we go. Okay, so here's another dragon here, right? Remember the dragon? On the Thunderbolts picture today. Alright, well, here's another one. Okay, and you can see the Lichtenberg features on this lake here. A little close-up of it. Alright? It's one of these dragons, okay? The only mistake I made, I corrected it in the comments over here, was that it wasn't blasted out of the lake, but it was blasted out of the ground. And that's what created the lake, you see. And here's Gobekli Tepe right down here, 40 miles away. Alright? So, what I'm saying is that whenever this occurred, this scarring occurred, this is when this place was buried. At some later time than 12,000 years ago, whenever the later occupation, after the people who probably discovered the site, added these walled places, maybe they had some history of it, maybe it was only 1,000 years later or something like that, and, you know, and it came down through their mythologies or whatever, they reoccupied these places. I don't know, but it seems like it was found at a later date, like as Sylvie pointed out, and as they know about now. So that's why they say it's occupied at a later date as well, because it doesn't make any sense to build these walls up against the reliefs. It's like it doesn't mean anything. So it's occupied twice. So the original T columns and everything were the only things that were there originally. All this rubble wall and everything was added later by some peoples that found it later. And, you know, but originally it was all thought it was one build, etc., and it wasn't. Okay, so that's what people were led to believe. Here it is in National Geographic as if it was all built as one build or whatever. It wasn't. Okay, found at a later date. Okay, and buried by electrical discharge. Okay, lightning scarred planet Earth. Okay, these are things that Andy Hall goes over on Thunderbolts, a frequent speaker there. Alright, and how these electrical discharges occur, and the hypersonic winds, and the type of layering that occurs, how the material gets dispersed in a way that it does, not just like one giant clump lands over there, bump. You know, it's not like that. This layering occurs, it's even layering with the same material in the same consistency over, and this is what creates all the mountain ranges, etc., etc. So that's what I wanted to show you guys, was this thing that Dave published here, you know, my idea here that Gobekli Tepe was in fact buried by this occurrence, and that's the reason why it was buried. Is pointed out in the past by people like Sylvie on the New Earth channel that some of the sites, many of the sites in the Americas here were buried with dirt. And why would that be? I mean, there are many other sites around the world that are just as old, if not older or whatever, not buried by anything. Sort of, they say, you know, the sort of periodic layering from, you know, dust and all this kind of stuff. You know, there's other buildings, other constructions around the world that don't have this issue or whatever. So why were these buildings buried, and what buried them and whatever? So it's all these cataclysms, especially in the Americas for sure. But apparently the Earth went through some sort of electrical scarring and around the whole planet, including the eye in the Sahara. There's another, and Andy Hall goes over it. He's a very competent speaker, a very intelligent speaker on this subject on the Thunderbolts channel. So that's what they believe anyway, but I don't think anybody from the Thunderbolts Project or even Andy Hall has even considered this connection here between how Gobekli Tepe was buried and this lake there that's north of it there. That's just, you know, one of these dragons, one of these Lichtenberg dragons, like they talk about on the Thunderbolts channel, just like this one right here. Okay, but this is in Namibia where it's nice and dry. There's no water there, but you know, this one's up there in Turkey. You know, so lots of water there in the mountains and all kind of stuff. So in any case, that's all I have to say about it, folks. And I think I'm the only one that's even proposed this at all, whatever. I think it's the most likely explanation for the burial of this ancient structure from a time period so far in the ancient past. You have people like Randall Carlson, okay, one of his recent videos, Randall Carlson said that, these civilizations have built themselves up in the past time and time again to a certain level, reached a certain level of advancement, and were totally destroyed by these cataclysms that recur again and again and again. He does any number of presentations about it on YouTube that you can see, anybody can see, and it's just interesting to me, his latest video here that says Randall Carlson finally reveals proof of ancient lightning use, in the ancient past. Okay, this is a current video. Okay, well, it's kind of an old idea, and his channel gets thousands, tens of thousands of subscribers, and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and tens of thousands of views, and all kind of stuff. Well, you can see right here on my Stonewall Research channel a couple of videos that I did about such things. One of them being about Roman concrete, and about how the University of Utah said they did an analysis and they found the formula and everything, and they didn't find a formula for it at all. They tried mixing it up. They found out they had all the materials. They did the analysis. They got all the materials together, and then they tried making their own concrete, and something was missing. Okay? And I said it was the application of electricity. Okay? First, I proposed that. Right? I can't seem to find a damn video here. It's somewhere here. There it is. Roman concrete and geopolymers. Okay, why does Roman concrete hold up for thousands of years, and our current concrete technology that we have today won't last nearly as long? Because it's just inferior in every way. It gets salts, and even if it's reinforced, it breaks down into steel, etc. So it's not as good as Roman concrete. So apparently researchers at the University of Utah sort of figured it out, what it was made out of, but they were missing something in the process of making it, and I suggested it was electricity. Okay, that's what Randall Carlson is trying to say here in this latest video that a zillion billion people are going to watch. And then I came up with one of the most popular videos on my channel, is Tartarian free energy geopolymers. It has something like 1,700 views. Alright, not a real lot, but okay, pretty good. Where I propose this, and I give an example of a contemporary article, a modern day article, where they experiment with concrete, okay, and they apply electricity to it, and it makes it harder and cures it faster. So if you have these huge things that you pour as concrete, like as the Romans did, how long is it going to take to cure? Okay, concrete needs time to cure. Yeah, they have quickcrete concrete that cures pretty fast. We have that now through chemical process. It cures, it heats up, etc., etc. But giant blocks that weigh 400 tons, well, how's that going to happen? It's not going to happen real quick. It's going to take a little while. So how do you cure it faster? Well, I present a scientific article about it here. When was this? 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, here's Randall Carlson talking about it now. Okay, maybe he knows details about certain, people, cultures that used it or whatever, but folks, I covered it already. Okay, your friend Budcat 7 is not the dumb Brooklynite from New York that other people might think. Okay, so I'm a pretty intelligent guy, and these are the kind of things I think about. Okay, I don't know if it's Tartarian free energy geopolymers with the Roman concrete. He's showing one of these Roman structures made out of concrete. Amazing with the carving in there. See, it's nice, easy to carve when it's malleable like that. Easy to carve out. But, hard as could be, lasting forever, like this thing here. Right? So Why couldn't you do that with other megalithic stone that we think is stone, but it's just poured and then just sliced up while it's still curing into the shapes that you needed to go into the, polygonal stone walls that are constructed. Just, hey, pour it all up. But no, it's andesite and it's granite. They couldn't do that. It's not a geopolymer. You can't do it. Yeah, okay, so whatever. How many times did all the things we have today, people said, you can't do this and you can't do that, and here's people doing it. But whatever, I'm just saying, these are the kind of things that Randall Carlson thinks about here, and I've already covered it on my channel because I'm a pretty smart guy, all right? And this whole thing stems from Bellicosi here, worlds in collision, interplanetary scarring, like a Mars here, Marinaris here, Marinarisaurus, or whatever the heck it is, Marinaris, I don't know if you pronounce it that way or not. It's a marinara, okay? It's Wednesday, right? It's noodle day, so call Anthony, we got some noodles going on. And here's the Grand Canyon, also a similar thing. The Grand Canyon was not formed by some inland ocean or something like that. All these cockamamie. See, when you become a scientist, like a geologist, anthropologist, archaeologist, you have to, not only have to know sort of particulars about, sort of physical examination of whatever it is, but you have to know how to make up stories, right? Really good stories, because you got to spin up some kind of yarn about stuff you can't really know about, right? Because all your theories don't make any sense, just like the one about Gobekli Tepe. And about how it was buried by people, but now not. It's landslides, and it's other people came along later on. It wasn't built all at once. See, all these things have changed, and if you didn't know about it, well, now you know about it. But you didn't know that they revised their original assessment of it, did you? Okay, so in any case, here's the full assessment of it. It wasn't buried by people or landslides or anything. It came from this lake there, okay, that was gouged out by electrical discharge, and the layering that flew over there through hypersonic winds, etc., layered it in such a way that it came out that way from material that came from 40 miles away. Here's where the material came from. And then after all that material is gone, filled up with water. See? All right, guys, so anyway, I want to end the video here because I think I made my point here, but I got into it a little bit longer than that one I did on my other channel because I thought people should know about this, okay? And like Dave said, he didn't have any problem understanding where I was coming from. He's like, yep, I can get with that, because it's one of these dragon figures, Lichtenberg figures. Okay, guys, so anyway, read Worlds in Collision and Earth in Upheaval, and the amnesia that man suffers because they can't remember their past. And one of the reasons they can't remember their past is because everybody in power through the ages has changed it in a way they thought reflected better on them. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Please do hit the like button, and try to get another video in here pretty soon, okay? Bugcat 7 signing out. Peace.